Hi, this is Ren,
This is Casey,
and this is All Walks of Film.
and we are pissed off today. That's not true. I'm pissed off today. I'm always pissed off. What else is new?
Yeah, so I posted on my Facebook an article that I saw while I was on break at work about a show that I really like. A new show that I do actually plan on doing a video essay to, and that show is Westworld.
Westworld, though.
Yeah,
Westworld.
It's a great new show that's come out on HBO. Like, I thought Game of Thrones was all they had as far as, like, high concept shows.
And Flight of the Conchords.
I mean, no, Flight of the Conchords isn't, like, really a high concept show. Like, I'm talking about, like, high concept, big budget shows. Flight of the Conchords was done with a shoestring budget.
It was still high concept, though. I told you I was freaking...
All right, so, I mean, they've had shows like Carnival and Rome and stuff like that, but, like, Game of Thrones, like, pushed it to a new level. I mean, you know, you have special effects that are comparable to anything that you see in the movies. And this show is no exception.
So you had posted this article that we're about to go through real quick, and you were like, okay, well, I kind of see her point, but, like, I kind of think that that was the point of the scene. And I was like, no, fuck this article.
Yeah, so the article is called...
spoilers. There's lots of spoilers about the newest episode, which is the 5th episode. So...
yeah, if you haven't seen the 5th episode, go watch that and then listen to us.
Like, watch it right now. Go do it. Now that there's a thing called HBO Now, you have no excuse.
And there are other means, but we do not endorse those.
Wink, wink. We have a public position and a private position.
All right, so... but we actually use HBO Now.
Yes.
Like, legitimately use HBO Now.
I
Because,
like HBO Now, honestly. I like it a lot. I think it's worth it.
I do too. I mean, for cord cutters, it's the best alternative. And, like, honestly, I'm sick and tired of...
put together Netflix and Hulu and HBO Now and Amazon Prime, it's still so much cheaper than cable. Like, so much cheaper. And you still have so many better options and way less adverts. So I still
and
think
you
it's
get
worth it.
HBO, which, like, half the time people would spend the top dollars to get HBO.
Yeah, and the stuff that you want to watch on HBO isn't even on all the time unless you have, like, the DVR or request or whatever.
Yeah, and if you watch TV as much as I do a week, which, even though I have a film podcast and I talk about movies a lot, I don't really watch that much TV or movies because I'm working all the time.
I'm such a TV person, though.
I know. It's kind of bad.
It's not bad.
All right, so the article is called Why Westworld's Throwaway Scene of Black Male Nudity Felt So Dehumanizing.
Hint, she's not talking about the fact that he's a robot.
So, this is written by Catherine Van Arendonk. All right, so there is a very brief moment in Westworld's 5th episode, hardly even noticeable if you're watching while doing other things. Why the fuck would you be watching a show while doing other things? Like, I get that some people do that shit.
You do that with some shows, but you don't fucking do that with Westworld.
Yeah, but, like, that's
number one.
Yeah. Okay, so...
oh, so you know this big thing that I'm about to talk about? It's not even noticeable if, like, you're not even paying attention.
Yeah.
Then why the fuck... no.
That's worth considering more fully. It's a transitional scene meant to build a bridge into a bigger plot for the episode.
You can tell, I mean, like, you'll see it more as it goes on. She must be... this feminist academic because she has this way of over-pontificating in a way that makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. Elsie Hughes, behavioral specialist for the park, is doing a tune-up on one of the hosts, who's calibrating his distances incorrectly. She sighs at him, frustrated that he's still pouring water all over the metal tray rather than into the glass. Elsie looks up, realizes some techs are transporting the body of the woodcutter host, who went rogue, and immediately abandons her current task to pursue the bigger issue. The whole thing takes about 23 seconds. The host's name is Bart, like Bart Simpson. He's an attractive, muscular black man Like all hosts in the behavior modification areas of the park's facilities, he's completely naked.
Oh my god, you have nudity on your... Oh my god, that's sexualization, that's objectification. No, we don't want to see that. We're all adults here, that's why we're watching HBO, but that is just too far. How dare everybody be naked all the time?
I mean, I guess they just want it to be like Evan Rachel Wood for the most part, because like she's got her hair perfect. I mean, like this episode we did see a little bit of nipple like poking through, but like for the episodes before we didn't even see that. Like she was like perfect
though.
You see everybody's butt on
but
TV.
Exactly, yeah. Like I don't know why. The reason why I bring this up is this isn't like a big thing that Catherine does specifically, but this is like Spartacus, Game of Thrones, Westworld. I mean, I've heard other people talk about this with Westworld of like, oh my god, they're naked. Oh my, Mary Sue complained about that. And it's like, dude, there's a good reason why. It's because they have a very limited amount of time to fix the robots and get them back into place. So while the robots are being mended, and while they're being, checked out and scanned and everything, there's probably fucking costumers who are, like, washing and cleaning their clothes, repairing bullet holes, all that kind of stuff. Is that, like, so hard to believe? Especially when the nudity is not sexual.
No, it's very objective.
It was in this episode, but, like...
Well, in this particular instance, it was sexual.
But yeah.
But...
Until this episode, it's not generally sexual.
Yeah, and then we have the orgy that happened later where all of it was sexual.
Well, there's also the other thing, which I'll talk about later.
As Elsie looks up from her tablet, she swings around on her wheeled stool to assess him, and his penis comes into the camera shot. Oh my god, it's a penis.
Oh my god, a penis? No, not the penis.
Eek, a penis.
No. Oh yeah, that episode of South Park.
First, it's briefly in focus. Man, this woman was paying very close attention to this penis. Very visible in profile. And then it remains in the frame, but out of focus in the foreground as Elsie regards him frankly. If he can't stop pouring booze all over the guests, Elsie tells him, rhetorically, as he's clearly not responsive, I'm going to have to reassign you to the narrative where your talents will go tragically to waste.
Wait, so you mean in this theme park where you're allowed to do anything you want with any of the hosts, including go right around on adventures with them, go shoot them full of holes, hang them upside down, or even possibly have sex with them, they're actually designed to be attractive and able to have sex? Oh my god.
And there are some guests that are butt fucking the hosts.
But she talked about it. Oh no.
Probably you don't need me to describe the inflection in which Elsie says talents. Or the pointed tilt of her eyebrows as she says it.
That's the other thing I hate is that so many times in like articles and papers there's like this thing of like, oh, I don't need to explain this, or I don't need to go into this, or Google it, like what the fuck is with this? But no, you brought up a point. It's literally what you're being paid to do. Explain it. Fucking explain it. It is literally your job.
It's just lazy writing.
It is lazy writing.
Probably you don't need me to do any more close reading of the scene to understand exactly what talent Elsie is referring to.
Oh, wait. Is that going to make you blush? Is that too hard for you to talk about?
And maybe you, like me, read Wesley Morris's remarkable New York Times Magazine piece, The Last Taboo, Why Pop Culture Just Can't Deal with Black Male Sexuality. And the thought, these two things seem related.
Because, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. I read the article. I understand. You don't understand. No, you can't talk about this. I did the reading. I understand. And by the way, I'm not pulling this out of my ass. There was one time at a party where, like, this girl was literally like, no, you can't talk about this. I took the class. And it's like, dude, we all fucking took the class. We go to the same school. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I literally took a class called Equality and Justice. And of course, we talked about social justice warrior issues.
No, of course. But, like, in this case, it's like, oh, you read one article. You're so knowledgeable.
Yeah. They are. And I suppose you can see this as a form of progress. After all, Westworld has done exactly the thing Morris points out that there's so little of. The show actually puts a black penis on camera. Like, you haven't seen fucking porn. That's like the main fucking... Okay, like, you go up to a regular person and talk about porn, I guarantee big black cocks is going to come up.
Well, also, this ties into something that she says later that completely contradicts this point.
But this is not black male sexuality with the same range of seriousness, cheek, and romance that Morris says we give to white sexuality.
But in the context of the show, when is a white male robot given what does she say? Seriousness, cheek, and romance. When does that happen in this series where a white male robot gets seriousness, cheek, and romance involving sex or sexuality or being naked? Like,
I mean, the only thing that I could even see slightly of that was with two of the hosts that, you know, the Thandie Newton character who had herself cut and they were like having sex while they were getting cut.
She was making out with him. She wasn't fucking him with like a big gaping hole in her
No,
stomach.
but like there was a sexual nature to it.
There was a sexual nature to it, sure, but that wasn't about the guy. That was about her. And by the way, she's a badass. She's my favorite. I like her so much. She's cool. She's what's like really fucking me up about this show, because I'm like, but you're a robot, but you're awesome.
This is just the black body as an object, made into something that is both safe and laughable because it's the object of the white woman's lust. That seems to say more about you than the show.
But also, that again ties into something I want to bring up later. I don't like waiting.
Elsie does not see Bart as a person. He's quite literally not a person, nor has he given any of the humanizing robot walking up, and thus sexuality becomes moral question narrative that Dolores or Maeve get.
But, okay, so first of all, you're bringing up the fact that he's not a person, because that's literally the entire allegory of the fucking show. You can't get into like how that fits in with the overarching theme of the entire fucking program. Somehow that is like too convoluted for you. But then also this whole thing of like where she's talking about like, oh, he doesn't wake up and have like his own sexuality because we allowed the women to do that. What the fuck? Because like, okay, it's not as if we have seen these scenes where like the women, no, we've seen it with the males too, where like the robots are awake in these areas, but they're not sexual in any way.
In both Westworld and Westworld, Bart has been built as an inert, controllable sex toy, appealing for his size and the resulting implication of power and sexual prowess. What? So like having
I get what she's saying here. And this is exactly my problem, where like she can't understand the difference between it being put on screen and it being the message the director is trying to convey.
So just the fact that he has a big dick like implies all these other fucking things?
Well, she's talking about how like in both Westworld, the theme park, like in the context of the story, he's being built as a sex toy, which is completely debatable because we don't fucking know any of that shit.
We don't really know his character.
We don't know if he's like a male. He might be a man-ho or a male gigolo, but he might be a fucking bartender. We don't know. But also, in addition to that, she says in both Westworld, the theme park, and Westworld, the television program for us, the audience, he is supposed to be a sex toy. Which gets into what I really fucking hate about this article, where she's just like, I mean, she's more assertive about this later, but she's like trying to be like, this is how everybody reads it. And it's like, you don't fucking know that that's how everybody reads it. But the way that she's describing it, it's like all the women who bitch about that scene in Chasing Amy where he's like, oh, isn't all lesbians need? It's just a good dicking. And it's like, it's not offensive because you made the idiot say it. Just because it's on the TV doesn't mean that's what the director agrees with. You have to look at it in context. You can't just take down one line out of the movie and be like, oh my god, this is so misogynistic and homophobic. Oh my god. He made the fucking dumbass say it to point out how stupid that line of thought is. Which is exactly what this entire fucking scene was about. And she doesn't get it because she can't put it in context. She just takes this one scene, gets offended by it and upset, and is like, oh my god, everybody who watches this show, they're all just such fucking shitlords. You guys don't understand what this scene is. Like, you don't understand. I understand because I think about it, and this is just, it was too much of a throwaway scene because you weren't paying attention because you were running off and doing other things. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, is it that impossible to think that the audience might have an interpretation? That they could actually interpret a scene and not just see it and, like, blindly take it in?
And at the same time, he's rendered safe because he's restrained. I don't even know what this woman is on. It's a tiny throwaway scene that you wrote a whole entire article for, which is why we have to do this. Like,
and also, it's a tiny throwaway scene. Fuck you. On behalf of the people who made this show, they wrote this entire fucking thing for a reason. It's 23 seconds. It's included in the story for a reason. You want to know what that reason is? You want to know? Oh my god, you'll never believe this. You never would have thought of this on your own. You need me to tell you, because I understand. Character development. Oh my god! That's just so hard to fucking grasp. Character development. Oh, but it's a short scene, therefore it's a throwaway scene. But, dude, it's a 43-minute program, and it actually does change her character a lot, this interaction she has with Bart.
Yeah, it definitely puts her in a position of power, which we haven't really seen much of.
There's that, but, like, I'm gonna go ahead and get into this. The context that she is fucking missing is that in this quote-unquote throwaway scene, which, by the way, fuck you, throwaway scene, my god. But in this throwaway scene, she is objectifying the robot. She is being sexual towards this robot that is not alive and isn't responsive to her. Then she immediately proceeds to go to this other guy who's working, like, he's one of those people that, like, handles the dead robots, and is, like, trying to blackmail him with this video of him, like, fucking one of the robots before it's incinerated. And it is really creepy. Like, I got the heebie-jeebies from that. But she's like, oh, you're such a necro. Fuck you for, like, wanting to fuck a robot. And it's like, but a minute ago, you were ogling this other robot's talents. It undermines her moral superiority in that scene. You know, it shows how manipulative she is. And it shows an actual flaw in her character. And that's completely different than what we've seen in the past 4 episodes, where she's just like, I'm cute, but, like, I have to go along with things. I know what's best, but my boss tells me to do something else, so I'm pouty. This is something that actually gives her some dimension. And, oh, that's so awful.
In the show that spends extensive time engaged in deep, meaningful conversations about the nature of humanity.
Meaning that that's the only way that they can tell a story. They've established that that's the only way they like to tell a story. So if something is short or isn't told with a lot of dialogue, that means that they think it's a joke and it's a throwaway scene.
It's easy to dismiss this as something ultimately trivial in the greater scheme of the show. But of course, the stuff you throw away, the stuff that becomes a little joke, that doesn't get examined, that flies beneath the radar, that's where you put all of the stuff you don't care about. How is this something that you don't care about? I mean, this establishes more context to her character.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying that I fucking hate about this article, where she's like, you guys don't understand because you didn't read this article that this is like, you guys just think that it's this little throwaway joke, and it's like, who the fuck said that it was a throwaway joke? Why do you think that the people watching Westworld are not paying attention to the show and can't possibly have an interpretation of the scene that isn't fucking spoon-fed to them? Why do you think nobody's paying attention? Why do you think, like, nobody can surmise anything from this scene unless you tell them how to do it?
That's the type of rhetoric that gets me sick and tired of fucking social justice warrior, like, writings, is because they just act like they know everything and everybody else is fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. This is what I hate, because, like, literally the entire argument is predicated on the fact that, or around the idea that she is talking to somebody who saw this program and doesn't know how to watch TV, essentially. She's just making that base assumption that, like, if you watch Westworld, you didn't understand it. So that's why she's going to come in and tell it to you.
I mean, I will admit that I sometimes talk with an authoritative tone and use authoritative language, but I'm willing to accept somebody calling me out on my own shit.
You also don't get paid for it.
That's true.
Like, you're not a professional reviewer.
Right, you know, I make like a small portion from the videos that I make, but that's about it.
I mean, there are plenty of good reviewers who can talk about a show, or like theorists who can talk about like a scene and break it down in a way that's not predicated on this idea that they're talking to somebody who doesn't understand how to watch film or how to watch television.
That's where all of the ideological bodies are buried. To put Bart and his anatomy into such a small, unexamined scene is to suggest both it is not something the show wants to examine, and that no examination needs to be done.
Again, fuck you from anyone who ever makes film.
Yeah, so people are just watching it, you know, it going into one eyeball to the other.
Yeah.
I mean...
like, what? This is what annoys me, is like, oh, well, they made it really brief because they didn't want anyone to pay attention to it. But fuck you.
People pay closer attention to TV shows than they do movies nowadays.
Well,
fucking go on Reddit. True film doesn't even have as much shit as, like, fucking people theorizing on shows. People will break down shows to the second.
Yeah, but also, like, that's such a fuck you in the face of the filmmakers of, like, oh, well, they made it this way so you wouldn't pay attention. I doubt that anybody working on Westworld didn't want people in the audience to pay attention to fucking everything.
It's the storytelling equivalent of a bad, politically incorrect joke that your coworker insists is meaningless fun. I've been in the Navy, and yeah, like, there are tons of jokes that are like that, and this show didn't do that in that scene.
And again, it's making this assumption that just because it's on screen means that we're supposed to take it at face value and just eat it exactly the way it is, and that there's no room for interpretation or a message underneath it.
This woman acts like everything needs to be spelled out for her.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you know what? Maybe every character isn't supposed to be perfect. Maybe this is supposed to show a flaw in Elsie's character.
Those thoughtless asides are also doing important cultural work, communicating what's important and what can be safely marginalized.
But that's exactly it. It is showing her doing this exact thing so we feel uncomfortable. You know, not everything that's on screen is supposed to make you feel happy, la-di-da. Shit's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable and unhappy.
Yeah, and wasn't it the last episode where Ford literally cut open one of the people's faces? Or was that the third episode?
I don't remember which episode it is, but yeah, go on.
Where Ford literally cut open one of the host's faces to prove to one of the people that was covering up the robot, like, not to do that.
Yeah.
Like, he was just like, this is just an object.
Yeah.
Ford literally said that. We already have the fucking context. Are you not paying attention to the fucking show, woman?
The entire program is supposed to make you feel bad about the way that they are objectifying these robots. Which, by the way, is not new by any means. Like, I'm sure
yeah, I mean, they fucking did this in Ex Machina a year ago.
Well, even further than that, I'm sure it's been done before this, but fucking Osamu
Well, yeah, the
Tezuka was doing that.
Stepford Wives and
No,
et cetera, et cetera.
Osamu Tezuka was doing this with Astro Boy in the fucking 60s. And he was totally about fucking racism. Even though there was
it was done in the original
1927
Metropolis. When Maria is placed...
That was a completely different thing.
No,
that is not the same context.
Her sexuality was used to lure those guys to their fucking doom.
No, it's not just for the sake of sexuality. This idea of like robots being the marginalized community. That's not really the point of the Metropolis movie. That was a different thing. Because they were talking about like marginalization, but the robot was not the mechanism for that in that movie. In the same way that it was in like Astro Boy and Stepford Wives and Ex Machina. Etc., etc.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Bart, his nudity, and his sexuality don't rise to the level of narrative priority, so did you want to see him have a boner? I'm sorry, I saw rise and I just had to say something. And the scene itself is built as a joke. Elsie's face is there in the background, with the frame focused on her as she muses about Bart's anatomy. Hers is the perspective, the face, and the selfhood we care about.
So she makes this assumption that because Elsie's a white woman, we're all supposed to immediately identify with her in this particular situation? Why? She's not the protagonist. She's not even, like, the good guy. Like, not even in the same way, like, I've argued with Ghostbusters, the reason why that scene where, what's her face? Kristen Wiig is, like, fucking sexually harassing Chris Hemsworth isn't funny because we're supposed to look up to her. She's supposed to be the good guy, and she's acting in this way that, like, we're supposed to think it's funny. Because in the context, there's nothing to tell us that that's wrong. Because all the girls are supposed to be the good guys and the cool ones and the ones we want to be like, and they're all fucking sexually harassing him. You know, in the context of that movie, we're supposed to look at that scene and think it's funny. In the context of this, there's nothing to make us identify with Elsie. She's not a well-established character at this point. And this was a way to show us that she is not a good character. We don't have a good guy. No. We have a good guy. We have Bernard. Bernard is the very human one who's trying to understand them and wants to treat them well. But even like Anthony Hopkins, who's kind of like that, is also like, you know, like you said, he's cutting open their faces, treating them like objects, running around and like fucking with them. You know, nobody's like the good guy in the show. There's no moral good and bad in that way in the show. I mean, like, a lot of the show is sort of showing that, like, no one is the good guy or the bad guy. Like, that's a prevalent theme in this. So to say, like, oh, we're supposed to identify with her. We're supposed to think what she's thinking. No, we're supposed to be critical of what she's doing in this scene.
In the foreground, out of focus but prominently visible, is Bart's penis, hanging there like a piece of physical comedy. We don't need a punchline or any further explanation because the object is enough. So, wait. So, just having a dick is automatically funny? Is that what she's trying to argue?
That's what she's trying to argue. Even
I mean, to be fair, some people watched Watchmen and couldn't stop laughing anytime Dr. Manhattan showed up. I watched the movie and just, that's accurate to the comic book.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the movie didn't do anything to make that comical. And the same thing in the show. There was nothing that was done to the penis to make it funny.
How old is this woman? It's like she sees a penis and like all of a sudden she's like, wait, is this no, this isn't supposed to be funny, so I should be offended. If I laugh at anything about a black man, it must be offensive.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure her out. Westworld is hugely invested in building characterization through sex. In this episode,
hugely invested in building characterization through sex. If by that you mean people have sex from time to time on the show, you know, like they do in real life, well, I guess so, but usually sex doesn't say a lot about the character. I mean, it does in the case of the prostitutes because that's their profession, But this show goes well out of its way to make them fleshed out, interesting characters, besides the fact that, oh, they're hot and they're prostitutes and they like having sex.
If anything, the fucking guests are the simplified ones. Like, all they want to do is fucking kill whenever they get into the park.
Well, that one guy, yeah, he just wants to fucking kill, and the other guy's good because, like, I guess there is kind of that way where it's like,
that seems to be the majority of,
because they don't fuck prostitutes, but, like, there's nothing wrong with fucking the prostitutes, you know? The show is showing that, like, a couple, and by a couple I mean 2 out of a huge cast of people, 2 people think that they're so good because they don't fuck prostitutes. But the show does not say that not fucking prostitutes is good. And like I said, that's 2 out of, like, a cast of, 15 main characters?
I would beg to differ. I would say that...
How many sex scenes have we seen in this show?
I would say that sexuality and
the
desire...
and sex are 2 different things.
Yeah, but if you're talking about the action itself or the desire to and...
Okay, in this case, I'm assuming she means sex as an act and not sex as in, like, your biological sex. When she just says sex and not sexuality, sensuality, orientation, she says sex. I think she means there's a lot of character development in sex scenes.
Which is good.
Well, A, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but B, what's a single sex scene we've seen?
There are a ton. There's the one with Bernard and...
That's a post-sex scene.
There was, what's his name from the Picture of Dorian Gray, the fucking guy who was like fucking the prostitute and like playing with the other guy.
Yeah, there was that one scene where he was having sex.
But there's the giant orgy.
Nobody's really having sex. They're in the background. It's not a sex scene.
No, they're having sex.
No, they're having sex, but it's not a sex scene. None of the main characters are having sex. No one who's talking in that scene is having sex. Like, yeah, I thought of that one where, like, he's fucking the prostitutes, but other than that one scene, I can't think of a sex scene in the show. And Dolores never got raped anyway, so...
We don't know that for certain, but that is
Probably
a theory.
Not.
That is a theory that I've had.
Most likely not. And that one Mary Sue article tried to say, like, she was raped over and over again, which is 100% definitely not true so far.
Yeah, and given some of the revelations that we've made about the Man in Black... it seems
I
that...
see him raping her, honestly. I don't know why he would. He's kind of like the Joker, where I'm like, I don't think he would...
He really seems to be trying to break the game. It doesn't seem like he's doing things for
himself.
Like his...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's not really a sadist, which is an interesting twist.
Yeah, and he's also not sexual at all. He threatened her with rape and then took her and asked her a bunch of questions.
We don't know.
Yeah, like, there's a lot in the show about sexuality, but not about sex.
In this episode alone, I'd bet that by saying, I'm talking about that one nude scene, you'd assume I meant the giant gold-painted orgy that takes up a huge chunk of the hour.
No, because as soon as they said, like, oh, hey, you know that one scene where the black guy was dehumanized? I was like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what scene you're talking about. I'm interested. Click.
Not a 20-second joke about the host's dick. But for all of its ample sexual content, Westworld gives us very little range.
It gives us so little range by showing us a variety of black, white, Native American, female, male, completely different body types all over the fucking program.
Yeah, I mean,
but we've
seen different ranges of like actual like body sizes too. I mean, exactly. Like if you look in that like cellar room, there was like an overweight woman, there were like overweight men, there were like skinny people.
It was like an episode of Penn and Teller.
Yeah, I mean, it was just all the ranges. I mean, it's like, what the fuck do you want, woman?
Exactly. Like, there is a range. There's a huge range. And not only that, but like, if you're talking, there's not a lot of gay sex, and so far it's only been between women, which is a little disappointing, but they're so fucking casual about it that kind of helps out, you know. And it's not like what I'm saying is, it's like, when that happened, it wasn't like, oh my god, we went seasons and seasons without it. It's only been 5 fucking episodes, you know, and we've already seen that much. I don't know what she's talking about when she's like, we have so little range though. Because as soon as there is range, you bitch about it.
We get many women as hosts who are violated.
No, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're into it.
Yeah.
At least their programming tells them that they're into it.
Oh, but see, that's rape, because since they're robots, they can't actually consent. They're just consenting because they've been told to. So they're violated. And
we're meant to probe our feelings about that.
But so, wait a minute. Okay. What if that one guy in Dolores had sex? Would that be violating because they're robots and their programming told them to fuck each other? Yeah, I guess so, because that's still rape. If you force two people to have sex, that's still rape. Like Lady Snowblood.
Oh, I don't know. I
don't know if it's in the movie, but there's a scene in the manga series where she holds a guy at gunpoint and forces him to fuck a woman. And it's upsetting. I would consider that a rape scene. So... But, like, that's the point of the show. I mean, I guess. But, like, also, the whole show is about, like, what is humanity, what is not humanity, what is good, what is evil. And she's just like, but it's trying to say that this is good and this is evil. And it's like, no, it's trying to question it.
This is your brain on social justice.
But there has to be a good side and a bad side. We want to be on the right side of history. You can't question it. This is right and this is wrong, and that's it. Any media that tries to blur the lines, that's just being this, and this.
We have lots of men who come to Westworld to engage in as much meaningless and mostly straight sex as they possibly can.
Except for the woman who went there to go fuck a female prostitute.
And the couple that came there too.
Yeah, who just wanted to fuck each other in a western town.
And how the fuck do we know? We've only seen fucking 5 episodes. I'm sure there are plenty of women. And not very many
hosts.
Exactly. So, like, I'm sure there are plenty of women.
5 episodes, we've seen a pretty good range.
Yeah, we have. And I'm sure we're probably going to get a gay guest that comes in and,
wants to do the whole Brokeback Mountain thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, like...
Midnight Cowboy thing.
You can't talk about Midnight Cowboy because you haven't seen it.
Okay.
And what you just said clarifies that.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Fair enough. I was just throwing shit out there. So beyond those 2 frameworks, there's very little. That is bullshit. We've seen couples go there together. We've seen, like, buddies go there together. We've seen single people go there together. We've seen people who want to just fuck and whore around. We've seen people who want to, like, go be the good guy and not whore and fuck around. We've seen the fucking guy who wants to break the game. We've seen the girl who wants to go on an adventure and fuck some prostitutes. Which, wasn't that so revolutionary when fucking Game of Thrones did it, and now just like a couple months later is like completely fucking ignored?
Yeah. Also, like, wasn't the big complaint about Game of Thrones the fact that it wasn't showing enough wiener?
Who the fuck was complaining that it wasn't showing enough wiener?
Amelia Clark?
Amelia Clark, yeah, she did say that, didn't she? That's right.
Yeah.
I just always think of Game of Thrones when they're like, wieners, fluffing wieners.
But I actually did read articles where people were complaining about the fact that the show was not equal in its nudity.
But this show has been equal not only in the amount of nudity, but also in its portrayal of nudity.
Exactly. So I'm like, what the fuck do you want?
The men and the women are equally sexualized and not sexualized.
I mean, I would say that a show that is more equal to a sense would be Spartacus.
But also, like, this idea, and she even brought this up and then was like, but no, for reasons. Where it's like, this is the first time that we've seen a guy who's supposed to be sexualized in a game. Like, so we haven't seen men within the bounds of the program who are supposed to be, sexualized. Even though we've seen girls. So, like, as soon as you introduced one guy and tried to make it equal and provide range, that's bad, you guys. Because you didn't think about it enough. Do it. Do the Notebook. Do the Notebook.
What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? So it's troubling that in this one, fleeting divergence from the women as violated hosts, men as horny guests paradigm.
She's just taking, like, less than 5 minutes of 5 whole episodes and just fixating on those things out of
Did
context.
she just watch this one episode? It kind of seems like it.
Yeah, she probably did just watch this one episode.
Like, oh, my friends are talking about Westworld, so I'm going to watch this. Oh, wait, I write for The Vulture, so...
I'll get paid to watch this one episode by itself. Like, she just can't put anything in fucking context. Like, she's the one who's saying that it's like, this limited. There is shit that's this limited. Westworld is not like that. Like, how many women are in positions of power in this series? For real.
You have the woman who runs the whole fucking park.
Yeah, who's like trying to get the park out from underneath Ford.
Yeah, like she's the next in line.
Yeah.
To run the park because let's face it, Ford is probably going to be croaking pretty soon.
Yeah.
So,
what's her name? Tinsdale? What's her name? The chick I really fucking like. What's her name? Prostitute lady. Come on.
You're talking about a host, though.
No, I'm talking about her. She's in a position of power within the context of the game.
Yeah, she's
even
like
outside of the context of the
she's
game.
like the mama-san.
Yeah, she's the one who can control the client. She's always in control of any given situation.
For those of you,
and then even when she's outside of the world, she's the one who's aware. She knows what's fucking going on. She's the one who's putting together what the hell is going on between the real world and Westworld. And you seriously want to tell me that it's limited to women are just hanging around violated by these horny fucking men, and that's the show, you guys.
For those of you who are not familiar with mama-sans are female pimps. Usually they've grown up in a life of prostitution. They like climb up the ranks. It's very interesting, very common in Asian regions. There are rarely any male pimps if you go to Asian countries. And the reason why I know this is because literally almost any bar you go to has some form of prostitution in it.
A black man's large penis on screen! Exclamation point! But he's not allowed to be a man. That's the point.
He's certainly not allowed to have autonomy.
Like, she's so fucking close to, like, the point of the scene, and yet can't wrap her mind around the fact that, like, maybe it's not offensive and fucked up. Like, that could possibly ever exist.
And his sexual life is considered acceptable and funny only because it's the object of his white female handler's attraction.
Would that scene have changed at all if she wasn't white?
Also, I wasn't under the impression that she was hetero.
I mean, like, it's not really that clear, and I guess we know.
She said talents. She said talents. Does that even imply that she has an attraction for him?
Not
Because
really.
She's made out with two women. She has not made any two women.
She could be bisexual. She could be pansexual.
She could be
bisexual.
She could be
a lesbian who understands that men are attractive.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that we have no context that she would look at a man in a sexualized way based on the context that we have in the show.
But, okay, if we are looking at this scene out of context like she is, if she was not a woman, or if she was not white, what would change about the scene? Fuck, if he was white, what would change about the scene?
I guarantee you, if you swap the races, this article wouldn't exist.
It wouldn't exist, but also it wouldn't be making a commentary on the exact same fucking thing she's complaining about. Like, she doesn't understand that her complaints are the point of the scene. Because people don't think about it enough. She's the only one who thought about it enough. Because she read an article. Even the filmmakers didn't think about it that much because they made it a throwaway scene.
This reminds me when I was in my cartoon history class, where we were talking in class and somebody was like, there's no such thing as a positive stereotype. And I just said out loud, I beg to differ. And they were like, oh, please explain. I was like, I don't think that's appropriate for this class. And they were like, no, it's fine. We're in college and all that kind of stuff. And they were just like egging me on. I was like, fine. You know, like, let's say one stereotype is black men have large penises. I don't think that is a negative stereotype. I mean, granted, if you're that one black guy who has a tiny dick, that might be a negative stereotype because that you might fail to lead to expectations. And that is a problem. That is a problem in our society. you know, like if she were going to address that, the fact that, you know, large black penises are like a stereotype, and that, you know, black men are objectified in porn and all that kind of stuff for having their big black cock and shit like that.
That is literally the point of the scene, though.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it does, with the scene, especially because he does have no other traits other than he's a hot black guy. But the fact that she's white doesn't make this more relatable, and it also doesn't have anything to do with this power play. The power play is because he is the robot and she is the programmer. It is not because he is the black man and she is the white woman, who is also insanely attracted to women, if nothing else. She does sexualize the robots a lot, though, which is why that scene later... I mean, maybe that's the reason why this scene is so short, is because it's supposed to remind us of the fact that she's doing the exact same thing. She's trying to bust this other guy's balls on. But it also...
Even though she's kind of done that with the robots herself, though.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we can't possibly put this scene into a context.
But with the guy, it was more cold and clinical versus, you know, with the couple...
woman where it was like really passionate, she was into it, yeah. And
then that interaction with Dolores where she like puts her out of her misery in that one scene. Mm-hmm. Not great, Westworld. Not great. Also, that's like a really shitty way to end.
Yeah, that is a really shitty way to end it, but also like, no, you're not great. Fuck you.
All right, so what did you think of the article? Did you think it was bullshit? Did you think it had some legitimate arguments? Let us know in the comments below, and if you would like us to talk more about Westworld, please write that in the comments below.
Oh, and also, to the one woman in the comment section who said that everyone who bitched about this article was just a white male on the internet, between you and me, I was the one who got pissed off about this.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, what a way to fucking womansplain that shit, man.
Yeah, my first response was, it's kind of interesting to see people criticizing male objectification at one time.
Way, but she's not doing it in the same way.
Right.
Like, her arguments are just completely contradictory. She's not holding the men and women to the same standard.
And that would have been better if that's how it was done. Because, like, I mean, let's face it. There are so many people who act like women's objectification is like the only thing that fucking exists. And that's not fucking true.
No, it's 100% not fucking true. There is definitely I don't want to say a female gaze, because like I don't like this idea of like male gaze, female gaze. But like there is male sexual objectification. Well, I don't even like saying objectification, because there is real objectification in media that I think is harmful. But not every time that somebody is sexualized is it objectifying. Like, it's not objectifying to be like, look at this human being, they're really hot. That's not objectifying. Objectifying is turning them into an object, into a thing. And just because you think they're hot doesn't mean that you think they're a thing.
The one form of objectification that I do think is harmful is when you sexualize people underage.
That's not objectification either, that's sexualization. But yes, that is harmful. Definitely. There are harmful ways of doing it, but I'm just saying that, like, not every instance of it possibly being even, like, remotely brought into question or brought up in media is harmful.
Yeah, I remember my niece and nephew were watching the Disney Channel. I had to stop. Like, I had to go in the other room. Like, it was disgusting. There was so much child sexualization. It was like, what the fuck am I watching?
It's a lot more disturbing when you see it in real life. I think we've all seen that shit where it's like little kids in high heels or like two-piece bathing suits, and it's like, what the fuck? Not two-piece bathing suits, but like bikinis or like mini skirts or like shit that's like, I've seen some shit where like they are sexualizing children, and it's like shit you could get at any given store, like t-shirts that are like, I don't even want to repeat it. Never mind.
Do you think that the show is going to get into that territory?
I think it will, but I think it's going to wait a while. I don't think it's going to come out of the gate with that. Because like I said, they're trying to find the morality there, and I don't think they're going to go that hard into no fucking way. I
mean, obviously, there's a tact on how you convey that. You can't...
I think they're also going to have an irreversible moment at some point.
Where the host...
I don't know what the circumstances are going to be, but I think they're going to do something that's somewhat... like that.
I think it's going to be male on male.
It could be, for sure. Which, by the way, dude, at least people gave a shit about it when they did that on American Horror Story. Like, at least people got as upset about that as they did about,
Sansa.
fucking Sansa. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let us know what you thought of the article and put your comments below. Thanks for listening.